As I just said, Democrats declare open war on immigration, on ICE. Let's check it out. And welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. After a lot of rhetoric and insinuation, it appears the Democrat Party has now officially taken the most absurd political stance for a major party, maybe in the history of American politics. The party is fully open border and is declaring war on the federal agencies that protect the sovereignty of our country. That is what we saw today. A press conference announcing Democrats in Washington have developed an ICE tracker, which will coordinate with tipsters and essentially constantly dox federal immigration officers as they do the job of finding and deporting illegal aliens in your country. The job essentially of just keeping the sovereignty of the nation, an essential job for any first world country, a job that is done in every single country in the world that has a border. Take a listen.
The Oversight Committee will be launching on their website a master ICE tracker, where we're going to be essentially tracking every single instance that we can verify that the community will be able to send us information on, and it'll be all available in one central place.
Madness. Partisan politicians tracking and reporting every move of a federal law enforcement agency in the hopes of preventing that agency from doing its job, to give an advantage to people here illegally in the country, including criminals, so that they can somehow get away. That's what the politicians in Washington are trying to do. It is utterly obscene, and a look at just how far the very pathetic modern-day Democrat Party has fallen. Democrats now proclaiming from the rooftops, we are open borders, we are pro-crime, we are pro-chaos. That's what they are, and they're not hiding it anymore. New York Attorney General Tish James launching an ICE snitch website in New York. So New Yorkers that hate immigration enforcement can share photos and videos of ICE activity and dox ICE agents as much as they possibly can. You know, that'll be all over this website. What's their address? Where do they live? Who are these people? Their rhetoric already has ICE agents under constant attack. Last night, a raid in lower Manhattan, actually late afternoon, early evening on Canal Street, looked like this. Watch what they have to deal with.
We had people hitting cars. We had this lady hitting cars.
Come on, what are you scared about? What the are you scared about? Didn't do anything. Stop! You get the out of my face! They're abducting people from their homes and their schools and their jobs, and they know what they're doing is wrong, and they don't give a because they're heartless monsters.
Yeah, that's not the same.
I'm sorry, you must be really afraid right now. I'd be afraid too. I'd be afraid too.
What do you think about that? That's how their voters now react to immigration enforcement. Again, something that 15 years ago was not controversial at all. These people are completely brainwashed. 20 million people invaded the United States the last 4 or 5 years. Last November, Americans voted overwhelmingly to get them out of the country. You cannot live in a country this big and this rich and have just open borders. With the kind of welfare system we have, with the safety nets that we have, you just can't let everybody into the country. Anybody with an actual brain knows that. All the people screaming at ICE agents don't have brains. They have their daddy's credit cards and Manhattan addresses, though. And a militant subsection of the radical left now says it's fascist for the government to act on the mandate that was given to them by voters, which is we want illegals out of the country. We don't want to live in an open border society. We don't want to go bankrupt in a very short period of time by letting in tens of millions of people from all over the world. New York's likely next mayor, the communist Zoran Mamdani, saying the Trump administration chooses authoritarian theatrics that create fear, not safety. It must stop. Our governor, who's endorsed this communist as she has the spine of a jellyfish, claiming ICE agents use batons and pepper spray on street vendors and bystanders on Canal Street. You don't make New York safer by attacking New Yorkers. Well, Kathy, the Botox queen, here's a look at who was arrested. 9 West Africans with extensive, violent rap sheets. And if you've walked down Canal Street, and I have, I know exactly who these guys are. Assault, domestic violence, burglary, assaulting law enforcement, drug possession, drug trafficking, forgery. These guys are con artists, and there's a lot of them in New York. They're criminals, they're thugs, they're thieves, and they're con artists, and they're aggressive. One of the men arrested is seen on video assaulting independent journalist Nick Shirley and his cameraman. Take a look.
Get the out of here. That's what y'all do. Send the look at yourself in there.
Hey, hey, hey.
Take that somewhere else.
Hey.
Get the out of here with your cameras. Send it. So what the y'all here for? This is how the we eat. That's how the we eat. So get the out of here. This is what you do.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey. I will smash this. Hey. Hey.
Those are the guys the little white girls are screaming and crying over right in the face of ICE agents. Those are the guys that everybody wants to protect. That's what the enforcement was about. That's why they went to Canal Street. There's a lot of those guys on Canal Street, and they sell all the fake bags and the fake watches and everything like that, and they scam people and they steal. It's a dirty little part of Lower Manhattan. That man in that video was later arrested. And despite the manufactured chaos, ICE is actually reporting some impressive numbers that should make us all feel a little better about the job they're doing. More than 500,000 deported at this point. Those are clear deportations out of the country. The much more important number, I would say, is the 1.6 million who have self-deported. Because that's how you're really going to clean the place up. You're not going to be able to deport 15 million people, 20 million people out of the country in 4 years. But you could inspire the self-deportation of 10 and then deport another few million, and you've gotten somewhere pretty good. Another 500,000 have been arrested, still in the country, going through our legal system. On the other side of that, they'll be deported. An example of the media's contribution to all of this and the chaos that they like to stir up. Take a listen to one of the resident idiots over at CNN screaming about the small number of Americans who are mistakenly detained by ICE as they work to do the very difficult process of deporting millions of illegal immigrants. Take a listen.
Under Joe Biden, they didn't enforce federal immigration law. Now we do. We're having hundreds of thousands of interactions.
My point is that you
things
just
will
said,
happen, but she said they are not
I know,
training.
but you, but
she
no,
said they're
but
not
she,
training.
Do you think that she was saying a specific example, and you said it was false? Don't.
She said,
you just
quote, they're not
acknowledge
training
that.
them.
You just acknowledge that you don't know what she was referring to.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Scooping up U.S. citizens without giving them...
I disagree with the generalization that they're scooping up U.S. citizens.
There's 170 that have been
Well, there's over 500,000 illegal aliens that have been deported.
There's little children that have been scooped up that are U.S. citizens.
All right, look.
I know, you don't want the law enforced. I get it. You don't have to yell at me. You don't want the law enforced. I understand.
Listen.
They dumped 20 million people into your country. In the process of removing them, 170 people have been briefly detained by ICE to verify their immigration status, and that's what they're going to wail over. That's the standard they're going to have. She didn't say anything when the border was open for 4 years. Try to get rid of them, make one mistake, and they will blast that as loud as they can for as long as they can. Expect the chaos and the assaults to continue against ICE agents, because here's how prominent Democrats, like Illinois' governor who wants to be the president of the United States, here's how they're now talking about federal immigration.
This is what happened. This is what happened. People's rights started getting taken away. People got accused of being immigrants. This is before the Holocaust really took place. People were accused of being immigrants, and then laws were passed to limit immigrants, and then people who weren't actually immigrants were called immigrants, and then it was othering people, and that led to a lot worse things. What I'm saying is that this is how authoritarian regimes do it.
We want to talk to somebody that's been in the middle of all this stuff. So Julio Rosas is the Blaze Media national correspondent. He's been following these ICE raids around the United States. You saw the video out of Lower Manhattan from yesterday afternoon. It seems like the anti-ICE contingent, which here in New York is a bunch of spoiled little 25-year-old girls, is getting very, very angry and more aggressive.
Absolutely. And they know that they can do that in certain areas of the country because they know they can do it without consequence, because obviously NYPD wasn't going to arrest them, or if they were, there wasn't going to be any long-term consequences. So that's something that I've been warning about for a while, because the mass deportation effort isn't going to stop anytime soon, right? And so with that with that progress being made, as with the statistics that you put up earlier, they're going to escalate their tactics. And that's why we recently saw the shooting in Dallas. And we saw another shooting attempted shooting at another facility in Texas, and on and on and on. Right. So I'm not sure where it ends, but we're probably not going to be ending up anywhere good. Should this chaos continue and be fomented by Democrats?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you next. I mean, as this continues to be like this, and this goes on for more years more. I mean, there's 3 years left in this administration, more than 3 years. I wonder, I mean, when you've got Pritzker out there comparing this to, the Holocaust, I mean, it's just, if it's already at this level, I'm terrified to see what it looks like a year from now.
I mean, we're already seeing glimpses of that, because just yesterday, too, in Los Angeles, you had one of the spokesmen for a very prominent, immigrant rights group basically calling for illegal aliens to arm themselves so they could shoot back at federal immigration agents. And you try to couch it by saying, well, I'm not calling for violence, but people can defend themselves. Okay, well, you read between the lines about that. And so, when we're having this national discussion about political violence, the sustained political violence that we're seeing is not from the right. It's from the left. We just saw it yesterday in Manhattan. We're expected to see it this weekend in Portland again. Yeah. So this idea that political violence is a problem on both sides is absolute nonsense. Yeah. The reason why I've been super busy this past year covering violence in the streets hasn't been from people on the right. It's been from people on the left.
Yeah, it certainly has. Julio, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks.
So we headed to Canal Street this morning in Lower Manhattan to ask New Yorkers about last night's ICE raid that netted the arrest of some seriously violent West African illegal immigrants. Keep in mind when you're listening to this is dark blue New York. Take a listen.
I want no part of ICE in this city or any city in this country.
ICE shouldn't be here. They weren't here like 5 years ago. Why are you here now?
It kind of feels a bit dystopian.
It's becoming more like a dictatorship.
I don't know. Let's speak in English.
I don't care how hard it is. They got to abide by the law.
There's been very little evidence of any of these people having any kind of criminality.
I've been here for about 10 years on this block, and you couldn't even walk down this street.
I don't believe that people are here illegally. It's stolen land.
I feel like the whole thing is just super racist.
Due process. Everybody deserves due process.
It depends on what type of problems they
robbery.
Oh, now that's no doubt they should be dealt with.
So you're saying like they had drugs? Like, see, I didn't know all that. Yeah, but yeah, if it's like battery, like we don't play about domestic assault. That's like terrible robbery. No.
I think anyone who has a rap sheet that includes what you've listed is subject to law enforcement.
There's literally no evidence of these people having any criminality, like at all.
Do you feel unsafe walking down the street? Not anymore, with how much it's cleaned up today.
Illegals, how do you know they're illegal?
Well, they're here in the country illegally.
Oh, okay.
It's funny when they start to hear who's getting arrested, how it changes their minds. The ICE director, Todd Lyons, joins us now. And, sir, it's good to have you on. Just want to get your reaction to how people respond to the work that you do and how little most of them know when they give these reactions.
Rob, that's the big thing for me is the fact that most people don't know exactly what they do because they don't take the time to truly educate themselves, right? Like that one gentleman there saying there's no proof that there's any criminality to these folks. Had you just waited a few hours after the arrest, we made it fully transparent who we were going after, right? And, you always hear that we're out there doing indiscriminate sweeps or massive raids. It isn't. We showed up on Canal Street based on criminal intelligence, based on long-term investigations. That's what we were doing, right? Obviously, these weren't just people trying to make a living. Selling fraudulent goods is one thing. That's a federal crime. But again, these people are here illegally, and they had rap sheets, serious criminal rap sheets. Then they were released by sanctuary jurisdictions inside of New York. So I would think more people would feel happy at the fact that ICE is out there removing these threats from our community. But unfortunately, with all the rhetoric that we deal with, we don't get any thanks for our job. We don't do it for the thanks. But we want people to know that we aren't the Nazis, we aren't the Gestapos, this isn't the new version of Anne Frank like we keep being told, right? We're actually doing a law enforcement mission.
It's just disgusting. And Canal Street is a horrible place. It's right there in the middle of a good neighborhood, but it's like one little slice of Mogadishu in the middle of between Soho and Tribeca. I wanted to ask you, what the Democrats did today launching essentially websites to track your officers. We now have in a two-party system, we have a major political party that has basically said there will be no more immigration enforcement in this country. They're done with it completely. There can't be any more ICE. There can't be any more deportations. We are now borderless. We have no sovereignty, according to the Democrat Party. How do you respond to that?
You know, Rob, that's just to hear an elected official get up there and say they're going to create a tracking mechanism to keep track of law enforcement officers. I've said it many times, and unfortunately, the bad thing, I have to keep saying it. These tracking apps are like putting a map in a hitman's hands. We've already seen a sniper attack. We've already seen military-style ambush at an ICE facility. Border Patrol facility got shot up in Brownsville. It is getting worse and worse. And I hate to say it, but elected officials are the ones with this rhetoric and the ones that are stoking the fire. You know, ICE officers, 99% of our arrests before never had any incidents like this. But they're the ones calling for arms, calling for people to stand up, come resist, the men and women that work for me, when all they're trying to do is their sworn law enforcement duty.
Do you think about the fact that, you know, when Democrats take back power, and at some point they will, are they just going to open the floodgates again and fill this country back up with as many illegals as they can possibly find? I mean, I know we're building a wall, and it'll probably be done by then, but do you think they're just going to do it again?
I'm really scared, Rob, that they are, because the sad fact is these are the laws that they wrote. These are laws that Congress and the House all came up with. They can change if they want, but we're following the law. And the problem is they don't like the law, which I don't understand. You know, ICE is doing a mission that Congress has approved and always approved. And kind of, you know, to your point earlier in the opening, I started my career 17, 18 years ago, and we had none of these issues. Yeah. But we're not being seen as the law enforcement officers that we are. It's being totally, transformed into something new that, for me, my biggest fear every night is what the men and women of ICE and our other federal partners are going to, because now daily, today we had 4 vehicles ram ICE vehicles. You know, trying to escape arrest, or U.S. citizens just getting involved. We always say assaults are up over 1,000%. I guarantee it's way more than that when we sit down and get the numbers. But the problem is I'm constantly dealing with making sure my officers and agents are safe, because every day we have a ramming. Every day we have people fighting. Every day we have, you know, U.S. citizens coming out and trying to help these people break out of the vehicles. It's disgusting.
For doing the job that every single sovereign country with borders in the world does. That's how brainwashed these people are. Todd Lyons, the ICE director, thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me.
All right, continuing our conversation from last night, looking into the White House's interests in South America, hitting drug boats and sending strong messages to the Marxist leaders of Venezuela and also Colombia, while also making serious efforts to stabilize Argentina, now run by libertarian MAGA hero Javier Milei, visiting the White House here just a couple weeks ago, you see there, including buying up Venezuelan beef to try and stabilize his government, or I'm sorry, Argentinian beef to try and stabilize his government, and sending more money into Argentina. A New York Post op-ed today calling it "Make the Americas Great Again." Overnight, the U.S. military conducting its 8th lethal strike on narco-terrorists as well. This time, the Eastern Pacific was the target. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth posting on X, the vessel was known by our intelligence to be involved in illicit narcotic smuggling, was transiting along a known narco-trafficking transit route, and carrying narcotics. There were 2 narco-terrorists aboard the vessel during the strike. Both were killed. Sebastian Gorka is the Senior Director for Counterterrorism and joins us now from the White House. And, sir, it's good to see you. Criticisms on the beef buy plan in Argentina. What is the message from the White House to those that are a little worried that this is not a MAGA move right here?
It is an utterly MAGA move, and I don't mean MAGA with this first A with a second A being about Argentina or making that country great again. For those who don't have historical perspective, there's something called the Monroe Doctrine. I can translate that into a far more prosaic phrase. What happens in your backyard matters. What happens next to the house you live in is important to your house as well. So let's think of America as a home for all of us Americans. And as such, what happens in our hemisphere is directly of relevance to our safety, to our economy. If you just think about the fentanyl trafficking, 110,000 Americans murdered each year by those drug smugglers. Well, we know that that's the justification beyond anything else we could ever need. So we need a hemisphere that's stable, and we need those who share our vision of sovereign nations who have Western values coming together. Those nations need to be helped if they are in peril.
Is this a different way of trying to stabilize these countries? I mean, in the past, the U.S. aid has just sent money to these countries to try and keep them more stable so that people don't feel the need to come to the United States, immigrate here, and try to break in through our southern border. Is this just a different method of trying to do that by trying to, stabilize the capitalist leader of Argentina and maybe in some ways try and push out the communists that are running Venezuela and Colombia?
It's more than a different method, Rob. It's actually a different mission and a different objective. Under the Democrat administrations, whether it's Obama, whether it's Clinton, whether it was Biden, AID, foreign aid, was used to prop up those who shared the ideological anti-Americanism of those who were in power. This is about pro-Americanism. This is about supporting those who are on our side, wish to see nation states that are sovereign and borders that actually function as borders, and as you rightly said, resist the creeping socialism and at times communism that we see being supported by various actors in the region. So it's about making America safer by supporting our friends.
But Maduro, Venezuela, linking his country to Colombia now, sending this message out to the White House. Take a listen.
Colombia knows that we are one. And whatever happens to Colombia happens to Venezuela. And whatever happens to Venezuela happens to Colombia. As a military officer from the Colombian military forces wrote to me 2 weeks ago, if they touch Venezuela, they touch Colombia. We are one single country from the heart.
Is Maduro going to be the leader of that country in 6 months?
Can we just save that? Can we make that an evergreen? Is there a better clip of the globalist insanity than what you just heard? And, I'll take things that never happened for $500, please, Rob, that officer that wrote to him. But that is exactly the one world government that we are fighting because Americans want America for Americans. So perfect clip. Well done to your team. Let's save that one for the evergreen pile.
Is there interest in ousting that man from power?
We don't do regime change. So this is, a very simple pillar of American foreign policy under the Trump administration. We'll be supportive of those who share our Judeo-Christian Western values, but we don't do regime change. That's the insanity of the neoconservatives of the Bush era. So no, thank you.
370 suspected jihadists have been killed since you've been senior director of counterterrorism for the White House and since the president took office. Tell us how impactful those numbers are to our safety.
Oh, if you think about the prior 4 years, when I came into office in the first week, I was told by the intelligence community, by Special Operations Command, by the Department of War, that basically they weren't allowed to do their job for 4 years. They were surveilling jihadis who'd killed Americans, who were plotting to kill Americans, and they weren't allowed to take action. On day 8, we snapped back to the rules of engagement from the first Trump administration. The president signed a piece of paper that said if a combatant commander sees a leading jihadi, you have the authority to take them out and to turn them into red mist. And we are pushing almost 400 leading jihadis neutralized since January the 20th. And because it falls under our portfolio as well at the NSC, I am so proud of our team of Special Envoy Bowler, Rick Grinnell, Steve Witkoff, more than 75 Americans brought home alive who were hostages or wrongfully detained, because that's the number one priority to the president.
Yeah, I love it. Sebastian Gorka on his birthday. Happy birthday, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rob. God bless. Appreciate it.
Okay. As the government prepares to run out of food stamp funding as the government remains closed, the number of Americans that are taking from this bloated, exploited program they call SNAP will shock you. That is next with Senator Eric Schmitt.
With today's NBA stars, no lead is safe. Hoopers get hot like pop, pop, pop.
We got a lead against the Joker. Joke's on you.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet and exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric. It helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Look, if you're an executive, this shirt is a must-have in your closet. I was tired of floppy collars and shirts with sweat stains, so I got this shirt I saw on TV, and now I don't have to worry. I got it shipped in no time, and I switched from regular polos to this immediately. The brand is called Collars & Co. They make a regular stretchy golf shirt, but the top has a firm collar on it. I got rid of so many problems by upgrading to this. No dry cleaning needed anymore. I'm free from uncomfortable long sleeves, and the collars stay stiff all day. Get 20% off today using code TV at collarsandco.com.
Aquasana gave us more than just clean, healthy water. It gave us more space in the fridge, more room in the recycling bin, less carbon footprint, and ultimate peace of mind. Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
All right, the government shutdown enters its 4th week, and there are fears that food stamp funding will run out before the government reopens. That's what they call SNAP now. It's SNAP now. It's food stamps. And this moment has become a sad reminder of how vast that program is in this country. In fiscal year 2024, I could not believe this. 12.3% of Americans received SNAP benefits, food stamps. That's just under 42 million people that your paycheck and my paycheck are going to feed. The top 3 states where people receive food stamps, 21% of New Mexico, 18% of people in Louisiana, 1 out of 5 in Oregon and Louisiana and New Mexico really are on food stamps. It's a lot of people. In Missouri, nearly 11% of the state is receiving monthly SNAP benefits, 657,000 people. Republican Senator Josh Hawley with somewhat of a bizarre post for a Republican saying, since the Democrats refuse to fund the government, I'm introducing legislation to reinstate SNAP benefits immediately, even during the government shutdown. Not often do you see Republicans fighting for welfare. Senator Rob Schmitt is Hawley's counterpart in Missouri and joins us now. 12% of Americans are on food stamps. I think just purely about how much fraud there must be in that, because we do not have 12% of Americans that aren't able to work. It just doesn't, it's not possible.
Yeah, no, I think it's a reminder of the best welfare program in the world is a job, right? So I think having more opportunity for more people, that's what the One Big Beautiful Bill was all about, was making sure those tax cuts are permanent, making sure that it's sort of a pro-growth agenda. And then also, to your point, making sure there are work requirements for these types of benefits, especially as it relates to Medicaid. So if you're an able-bodied working adult, there's an expectation that you will be working 80 hours a month, basically, right? 20 hours a week of either volunteering or working. I don't think that's too much to ask. I think that's the right way to have accountability in the system.
They fight
so there should be real reform.
They fight that every step of the way. When you try to do any kind of verification on any kind of welfare, they go berserk.
Right. No, we should have these work requirements. It's very popular among the American people. It's the right thing to do. And I think, to your point, it gets around, I think, some of the fraud that we see in the system.
And I want to talk for a second about what we've seen. We've kind of seen a trend in this country, and it really started, I think, during COVID, when we sent everybody home and everybody got this big, long vacation and didn't go to work. I think a lot of people realized, I don't want to work ever again. a pretty impressive spike in workers with disabilities since COVID in 2021, going from 6 to 9 million. People collecting disability and not working went from 23 to 26 million. And it's just a reminder of when you take everybody out of the system and you put everybody on the dole for a short period of time, a lot of people don't want to come back. We created a bad trend during COVID.
Well, and honestly, Rob, it strains the system for those who really are disabled, right? Who really do actually need the support. It erodes the trust, I think, in a lot of these programs, and we want to make sure that we're strengthening that for people who actually can't help themselves and are dependent, on other people for their care and their help. When you see this kind of abuse, it certainly erodes that.
And this is another great example. Let's talk about Obamacare here for a second with the government shutdown and what's really holding it all up. Democrats demanding that these Obamacare subsidies, which are set to expire at the end of this year, they want these extended. Now, these are the subsidies that they put in place during COVID that went like 4x. You have families making $500,000 a year that are getting subsidized health care from the U.S. taxpayer. There's Axios reporting there's a group of 13 vulnerable Republicans, most in blue states. They sent a letter to Mike Johnson urging him to immediately extend those subsidies. So that I think that, is it going to be forever that we are going to subsidize people on Obamacare, even if they make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year? That's what Democrats are demanding.
Yeah, well, look, they made these temporary. These are temporary COVID subsidies for over 400% of the federal poverty level. The Democrats are trying to conflate that with all sorts of other issues. But I do think, Rob, it's actually an important acknowledgement on their part. They're admitting that Obamacare has been a disaster for working families. The ACA, even the Washington Post said the Affordable Care Act was never actually affordable. So you've seen healthcare costs rise. They've skyrocketed. It's made, as employers dropped their employer coverage for people, they were forced onto the exchanges. It's too expensive. If the Democrats want to have a debate about this, we should have a debate about reform and actually lowering the cost of health care. But that's not what this is about. This is about the Democrats afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid of the radical base getting mad at them if they actually pass a clean funding bill, which is what Republicans have offered.
How funny that the legacy of Barack Obama is this crappy health care that just is a disaster in every possible way, and there's no way to fix it. That's the legacy of Obama. Senator Eric Schmitt, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte scrambles to the White House after Trump cancels a summit with Putin. That's next.
NBA stars these days?
Everybody does everything.
Dudes playing 1 through 5.
Bigs dishing out like family dinner.
Got me smashing triple doubles.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us.
Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America. Do you know which investment has outperformed almost every other asset class since the beginning of last year? And that Goldman Sachs research is now forecasting to reach further heights. That's right, it's gold. Central banks around the world continue to buy gold at record levels due to economic turmoil, foreign conflicts, and a weakening U.S. economy plagued by debt. If you're concerned how to protect yourself as our financial system weakens, our team at Swiss America has a solution. For over 40 years, we've helped people just like you purchase precious metals for home delivery and for your IRAs. Don't miss out before this next big price jump. Call or text Swiss America at the number on your screen to receive your free portfolio review and a copy of The Timeless Truth About Gold and Silver. Let us show you how easy it is to safeguard your money. Call or text Swiss America today.
Ransomware scares me.
Cyberman to the rescue. PCmatic blocks the ransomware that hijacks your computer and your data, then demands a ransom.
Hackers are terrifying.
Hackers are always spying on your computer. PCmatic's VPN stops hacking.
My computer is slow.
PCmatic makes your computer faster. PCmatic is made in America and protects homes, businesses, and governments.
Thank you, Cyberman. Go to PCmatic.com.
Drop is finally here. Drop delivers the weight loss benefits of GLP-1 injections in easy-to-use oral drops, no needles.
That's right. The two big drawbacks with weight loss injections are high costs and weekly injections. Drop is flavorless and odorless, so you can just add it to water or your favorite beverage. Drop offers other advantages over injections too. With Drop, you can personalize your dosage based on your weight loss goals.
And because you add Drop to any liquid, there's no concern about injection site infections, bruising, or dosage confusion.
Drop is the easier, safer, cost-effective alternative to help you achieve your weight loss goals without the needles.
Can't find it anywhere? The Wellness Company has it. No consultation needed. Simply order online and use promo code SLIM to save $100. Visit dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
I'm Caden Ballas. I'm a race car driver from Concord, North Carolina, and I like to go fast. Consistency is everything. Every morning when I wake up, I take Balance of Nature fruits and veggies.
Get 35% off your first set as a preferred customer. Claim this offer by using discount code Newsmax.
Can you tell us a little bit about why you're elevating sanctions against Russia right now?
I just felt it was time. We've waited a long time. I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions, and sanctions on oil. The two biggest oil companies, among the biggest in the world, but they're Russian. They do a lot of oil. And hopefully it'll push, hopefully he'll become reasonable.
He's getting sick of Putin in this war, that's for sure. The NATO Secretary General, Mark Rutte, making a last-minute trip to the White House earlier as Trump announcing that the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, has placed sanctions on Russia's largest oil companies, which, of course, fund Russia and the Kremlin's war machine. Rutte meeting with Trump after the president called off an expected summit in Budapest with Putin to discuss an end to the war. That's off now. So Rutte's running back to figure out what the hell are we going to do now. The decision to cancel the meeting came after the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio's phone call with Russia's foreign minister, where the minister explained that Russia's position has remained largely unchanged. Okay. Katie McFarland is a former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor. Blaine Holt, retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, and they both join us now. Good to have you both. KT, what does that mean? That the position is unchanged, so Russia's just not moving on this at all?
Yeah, and I think what President Trump is trying to do from the very beginning is to have a relationship with Russia after the Ukraine war. So he's looking to, how do you separate Russia and China from each other? How do you have a relationship with Russia? So I think he's now giving up on that he's concluding, well, Russia isn't going to do a deal no matter what we do, no matter how many carrots we offer. So we have to bring out the really big sticks and force them to the negotiating table. But there are two hits that Russia's taking now with its economy. One is the sanctions that were imposed today. But the other hit is that the price of oil, since President Trump has been in office, has fallen by a third. It's fallen almost in half. It's $58 today, $58 a barrel. When President Trump took office at the end of the Biden administration, it was almost $100 a barrel. So the Russians are able to sell much less oil anywhere. And when they sell it, it's at a much lower price. So that has a real effect on their economy and obviously in their ability to continue to fight this war.
Blaine, how long can Russia hold on if oil prices keep dropping, and they probably will, and you've got these intense sanctions on it? How debilitating is that to Russia's economy?
You know, I've studied Russia my whole career, Rob, and I'll tell you that you should never underestimate the Russian people's ability to suffer internally if they're out to achieve a goal. They have 700,000 forces on that border, and they're pressing a military advantage. There's the economic path is the way to go, and President Trump switching out of the tomahawk idea into we're going to have to start shutting down this economy wherever we can. But again, they can, to your question, they can go a long way. This is a country with over 70 trillion in natural resource assets, including gold and silver, and they know very, very well how to move that illicitly on the world market, whether there's sanctions or not. And so the economic path back to full integration into the world's economy is what will probably save Putin, because he's now facing political heat in the Kremlin. And that's where we sit right now.
Yeah. I want to ask you guys about Israel before I let you go. The vice president is there now. The Knesset, which is like Israel's Congress, making a pretty bold move, passing a bill applying Israeli sovereignty over the Arab-occupied West Bank. This is a long dream of Netanyahu to expand, which is something that Trump has said is a step too far. KT, what do you think of this, and what will this stir up?
Look, here's the part. Netanyahu did not support this. This was the right wing of the Israeli parliament and the political environment. So they've always talked about, forget the two-state solution, we're going to just annex all of the Palestinian territories. The problem with it is it's not what they've all signed on to, because the 20-point peace plan says specifically that Israel's not allowed to have any new settlements, that Israel's not going to try to take land out. And so I think it's an empty gesture in a lot of ways that the Israelis are doing to their far right. And it probably is not very helpful as we're trying to make sure that there are no seams in this new Palestinian peace agreement. It just pours a lot of fuel on a fire that doesn't need to be poured on.
But Blaine, that means there's no teeth to it then? That it won't materially change anything?
There's teeth to it. No one should underestimate the right wing of Israel's political system. And that's why we sent out the big guns. Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio tomorrow. They're going to be working Israeli politics as much as they're working this refusal of Hamas to disarm, because it's critical. The key component in this whole plan is that the Arab states are in alignment now. It's just like the moon, the stars, and the sun in alignment. And we have to keep Turkey and Egypt on sides as we work these things. So that vote is really kind of a stick in the face. And I agree that it probably can be dealt with, but it's not a positive sign as we try to get through this very delicate phase.
KT, that where your head's at on this as well?
Yeah, I think that it's not very helpful, and it's really yet another problem that they're going to have to deal with. Just like the Palestinians are not laying down their arms in Gaza, the Israeli right wing, there's the far right and the far left. They're all trying to sabotage it in their own little way. I think we get through it, but it just makes one more problem and one more thing you got to overcome.
All right. KT and Blaine, thanks so much. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nasty comment by Biden's former press secretary turned talking head coming up.
I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like, are you
Agreed.
okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at GetTrumpWatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
From our orchards in Oregon to your holiday table, Harry and David delivers a legacy of gourmet excellence. Our prepared meals, fine wines, charcuterie, all crafted to elevate any celebration. Make it a hand-picked holiday with Harry and David.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galina. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You'll see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
Right now in Ukraine, elderly Jews are trapped in unbearable poverty. If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help Rush, a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
Please don't delay. Call, scan, or go online now.
With today's NBA stars, no lead is safe.
Bet on it. Up 20 used to be a lock.
To Steph, Booker, and Brunson, that's fool's gold.
Got a lead against the Joker? Joke's on you.
Hoopers get hot like pop, pop, pop. And your bet just cashed.
That's money.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
All right, welcome back. Biden's former press secretary, Jen Psaki, attacking the second lady, Usha Vance, really attacking the marriage of the vice president. Take a listen to this.
The little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else. Yeah. I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like, are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you. And that he's willing to do anything to get there.
Big Red getting kind of nasty. They always say that about all the wives of these politicians. They just think that if you're a woman, you must agree with my idiotic political theories. Kari Lake is a woman and doesn't agree with anything that these women say, and she joins us now. Good to have you on. What'd you make of that comment and just how nasty it was?
You know, I thought we left spouses out of it. Where this is and of all of the spouses, Usha is just so lovely. What a wonderful woman. She just wants to raise her kids and be supportive of her husband, which I think is a very noble thing. And I've met her on the campaign trail, and all I can say is she's just a really lovely human being. And I'm thinking about in thinking about this segment tonight, and Jen Psaki, she's a mom with 2 kids. How would she feel if all of a sudden she was the focus of a target like this for no reason? I don't think she would like it. It's not good for the family. It's not good for the children. And I think it's really despicable. But it shows they're literally, Rob, they're running out of things to complain about and whine about.
Yeah.
And so now they're just looking for anything.
Yeah, and it also shows that they're very nervous about what J.D. Vance is going to bring when it's his turn to potentially run for president, because he's got so many weapons.
That's a good point.
You know,
they realize there's no bringing Trump down. He is loved by so many people. Now they're going, who's coming next, and how can we stop them before they get going?
Yeah, you got this 6'2" guy from Ohio that's got this great story, was a poor kid and disadvantaged in every way, and he turns into what we have before us here. And he's very young, and he's got the look, and I think they're very scared about 2028, and I think they have a right to be, because not a lot of good candidates on their side, unless you think Gavin Newsom is really going to appeal in the swing states. I wanted to get to this before I let you go, because I thought this was an amazing story from the Wall Street Journal. After Joe Biden, let all of these brutal killers off of the chain for execution. They were all on death row, and he gave them clemency on that, putting them just in prison for the rest of their life. These are people that deserve to die. Joe Biden didn't think so. Now putting them a life sentence. Well, the president's saying, you know what, this is not going to be an easy life sentence anymore. The president designating these 37 people on death row, men on death row, are going to be in hell for the rest of their lives. They're all in solitary for 23 hours a day. Via this presidential order, and they're going to be sent to the Supermax, I think, which is in Colorado as well. What a strong message of anti-crime when you get so much the other way from the left to just kind of put the slam down. Okay, we're not going to kill you, but you're going to be in 23 confinement.
They're definitely not in a country club jail. That's for sure. It's a difficult jail to be in. I think it's the most difficult of all of the federal prisons. And, Joe Biden just thumbing his nose at juries that found these 37 people not only guilty, but worthy, and sentenced them to the death penalty. And Joe Biden, well, we think Joe Biden did it. I mean, let's face it. Who was really running the show? We know it was the auto pen. And so I'm not even sure if they would be legitimate the way that this last administration was run. But, I think prison should be a punishing environment. It shouldn't be a country club. It should be there to remind you why you're there, and you have a debt to pay. And these guys might wish that they hadn't had their sentence commuted or been pardoned from the death sentence.
Lockdown 23 hours a day, I think I'd want the electric chair. And you're right, we don't know if it was Joe Biden, because you remember how he talked with his crime bill back in the 90s. He was not a soft on crime guy. It's just another one of those executive orders that we have to question. Kari, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob.
UK traveler goes to Portland, regrets it. Next.
We decided to start our US tour in the city of Portland, Oregon, but we couldn't have made a bigger mistake if we tried.
If you have wet AMD or DME, you never want to lose sight of the things you love. And your condition doesn't have to steal the moment. Long-lasting EYLEA HD delivers powerful vision improvements that can save your vision for the future. EYLEA HD is the only treatment for wet AMD and DME that helped at least 8 out of 10 people go up to 4 months between injections after 3 initial monthly treatments. Don't take EYLEA HD if you have an eye infection, eye pain, redness, or are allergic to it. Eye injections like EYLEA HD may cause eye infection, separation of the retina, rare but severe swelling of blood vessels in the eye, or increased eye pressure. There is an uncommon risk of heart attack or stroke. There's still so much to see. Ask about next generation EYLEA HD, a treatment retina specialists trust.
I'm Arthur Lee, inventor and CEO of LifeVac, but most importantly, I'm a dad first.
Over 10 years ago, I watched my dad design and build the first LifeVac in our garage. Now, that device has saved thousands of lives.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1-2 seconds.
It's a device that saved my son's life.
A choking accident can happen anywhere. Order your LifeVac now.
Don't wait another minute. A life might depend on it. Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
Canines for Warriors pairs highly trained rescue dogs with combat veterans suffering from PTSD, and the results are nothing short of transformational. They're saving lives every single day on both ends of the leash. Now, full disclosure, I am not a combat veteran, and Freddie here is not what you'd call highly trained. We are, however, the very best of friends, and delighted to remind you that switching to Pure Talk will get you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for a lot less kibble than you're accustomed to paying. But that's not why I switched. I switched because I like to be in business with companies who share my values, and I really appreciate what Pure Talk has done for our veterans and for our best friends. Now, I can't speak for Freddie, but ever since I switched, he has been a very good boy. Pure Talk, an American wireless company that actually stands for something. Belly rubs not included.
Do you care where the economy is headed? What about elections? Or climate change? See the forecast consensus on our future at IBKR Forecast Trader. If you disagree, you can buy the contract that looks undervalued. But be careful. You must be right more than 50.5% of the time to win. Go to IBKR Forecast Trader.
Some mornings the road calls for more than just horsepower. It asks for intention, precision, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It's the details, how you carry the moment that sets the tone. This isn't just about looking sharp, it's about feeling ready. Crafted for motion, built with purpose, designed to perform from sunrise to last light. Collars & Co. Presence starts here. Try it for yourself today at collarsandco.com.
The best investment we can make is in our health.
With our Aquasana water filter, we know we're drinking cleaner, healthier water.
And that will pay the highest dividends. Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
Hey, it's Mark Lauder. My career's taken me from the State House to the White House, campaigns for mayor, all the way to President of the United States. I came to Newsmax to help our viewers get more than the headlines, beyond the spin. It's a perspective you'll only see on Newsmax.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left. Remember this moment, Joe Biden freezing on the stage at that Hollywood fundraiser? Obama had to grab him by the hand and kind of guide him off the stage. Just see it right here for a second. Just watch a little bit of video. Obama eventually grabs him. Well, it turns out, there you go. There's the grab. That moment enraged Joe's son, Hunter Biden. An excerpt from ABC's Jonathan Karl's new book, Retribution. Hunter saying, I almost jumped up on the stage and said, don't ever effing do that to the President of the United States again, ever. Adding, I knew that was going to be a meme. That really, really, really pissed me off. Hunter says, yeah, well, you're trying to get Dad to stay in there so you can make a few million more bucks, and that certainly didn't help. Next up, UK travel influencer Will Bailey realizing it's a huge mistake to ever go to dark blue Portland, Oregon.
We decided to start our US tour in the city of Portland, Oregon, but we couldn't have made a bigger mistake if we tried. This city is far from safe. Crime and homelessness dominates this area, and this is something we've experienced firsthand since being here. On our second night, we were woken up to sirens, shouting, and 3 loud gunshots. We're already making arrangements to leave this city and find somewhere a lot more secure.
Don't you just love Democrat policies in big cities? Aren't they great? Next up, The View's Sunny Hostin suggests she had to protect her son from getting harmed by all those terrible racist white neighbors. Take a listen.
I know that black boys are not given the presumption of innocence and the presumption of youth. I have had to be in the position where I have gone to my local police department because I know my son is going to be training for the Junior Olympics, running around the neighborhood in an all-white neighborhood, and I have brought him to the police and said, he belongs to me. This is my son. Do not harass him. Do not stop him.
God, do they love playing the victim. I mean, it's just amazing, these libs. Sonny, if you're so worried about it, why did you get a little money in your pocket and white flight all the way up to Westchester County? If you're so scared of that. And finally, fans launching a petition to replace Bad Bunny in this year's Super Bowl with the king of country, George Strait. Wouldn't that be great to have like a nice Super Bowl performance for once? The petition on change.org gaining lots of traction, over 72,000 signatures, also argues that the Super Bowl halftime show should unite the country, honor American culture, and remain family-friendly and not be turned into a political stunt. Baby, write this down. Sparks fly over Trump and his new ballroom. Up next.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer.
My name is Mike Hammond, founder of Cigna Relief. Much of my career has been working in construction, and I love the outdoors and horses. That active lifestyle is what has caused my body to hurt. I didn't want to let this affect my family or my life, and that's what motivated me to create a team to build the Cigna Relief Patch. Clinically shown that over 85% felt relief in just 72 hours, with almost half feeling significant relief in just 15 minutes. It's drug-free, reusable, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Whether it's your neck, back, knee, shoulder, or just aches and pains, this patch can give you your life back. When I gave my best friend a patch with tears in his eyes, he said it was the first time in 16 years he did not hurt. Join the hundreds of thousands who found relief. I'm asking you to try the Cigna Relief Patch today by going to our website. If you're thinking about buying, it means you need one. You have nothing to lose. I promise the patch works.
Almost everything we do requires balance, but studies show our balance worsens as we age. What if there was a safe, fun, and effective way to improve your balance? Introducing the Gibbon Slack Board, the world's first slackline-based balance board. Just 5 minutes a day can improve your balance, enabling you to improve performance or simply reduce your risk of falling.
I use the board about twice per week, maybe 5 to 10 minutes tops. And I've noticed that just in that short amount of time, I've been able to improve my balance.
The Slack board keeps your foot just a few inches off the ground for safety. And with our Balance app, you'll get free guided videos that deliver results fast.
I really feel that the Slack board is going to help improve my quality of life and to avoid any injuries that can happen as you get older.
The Slack board makes balance training simple, fun, and effective for your entire family. Own your balance. Get your Slack board today at gibbon-usa.com.
Back in the day, you bet sinners just to get boards. Word. Now I take them to make threes.
Today's NBA stars, everybody does everything.
Ant-Man, SGA, Luka, dudes playing 1 through 5.
Bigs dishing out like family dinner.
Woo! Got me smashing triple doubles. Shaq, basketball, not burgers.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets. Plus, get 3 months of NBA League Pass on us. The crown is yours.
At Sono Bello, just one visit, one day, one decision changes everything.
It was instant. I got an amazing flat stomach.
Physically, you can see it. That belly is gone. I feel great. Sono Bello did that for me.
With Sono Bello's advanced micro laser technology, you can permanently remove stubborn fat and sculpt the body you've always wanted, all in just one visit. That's why Sono Bello is America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist.
It's like literally hitting an easy button.
I see a snatched waist and some curves that look really good.
I went from a 14 to a 4. It was a one-day solution for me.
There's no more frustration, just permanent results.
They gave me a whole new body, and I am loving it.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews and board-certified surgeons. Call now for your personalized consultation. That's over a $250 value. Free. Easy monthly payment options make your best body more affordable than ever. Call Sono Bello today.
Finally tonight, Trump hammers a reporter asking why he's not been more transparent about the new ballroom. Watch.
It'll be one of the great ballrooms anywhere in the world. It's about $300 million. It's set to do many, many things, including meetings of foreign leaders. It's being paid for 100% by me and some friends of mine, donors, to it. The government's paying absolutely nothing. This was something they've wanted for at least 150 years.
He said, I've been trying to show this to anybody. I've been telling this to anybody who would listen. Infinity's up next. I thought it was pretty funny. He loves that ballroom. Not transparent. He's told the whole world about that thing about 1 million times.
You know what I love about the ballroom? So Barack Obama put in a basketball court. They can sod over that, but they can't tear down the Trump ballroom once it goes up. It's going to be there permanently, and it's going to drive every Democrat crazy as long as there's a White House and a Trump ballroom.
I can't wait to see it.
Thanks, Rob.
Good to see you.